25,000 genes in human DNA. Initially, this HGP, it is started, that means it is laid down in 1988. And initially during that particular period of time, launched in 1990, but foundation was laid in 1988. So the committee chairman is James Watson, Watson and Crick, and they have paved a path that they first of all they set goals like identification of approximately 20,000 to 25,000 genes in human DNA, to determine and sequence 3 billion base pairs of human DNA, and to store the information in the databases, improve data analysis tools, and transfer the same knowledge to the other sectors such as industries, and also at the same time to do clinical trials, human genome kind of projects. So many ethical, legal, and social issues are arising, are arised during that particular project that should be answered. So to solve, that's why he has given to solve ethical, legal, social issues, and sequencing of non-human model organisms such as E. coli, 4.7 million base pairs. This is very useful for them. This sequencing of non-human model organisms which are mostly used in genetic studies is done during this project. E. coli 4.7 million base pairs identifying 4,000 genes, Saccharomyces cerevisiae 12 million base pairs identifying 6,000 genes, and Drosophila melanogaster 180 million base pairs identifying 13,000 genes, and Caenorhabditis elegans is 97 million base pairs identifying 18,000 genes, Arabidopsis 130 million base pairs identifying 25,000 genes, Oryza sativa rice 430 million base pairs identifying 32,000 to 50,000 genes. There are two methodologies that they have provided to sequence the human genome. One is just finding out the expressed sequence tags, identifying all the genes that are expressed as RNA, and the next is sequence annotation. In the sequence annotation process, the whole genome is sequenced, and each and every sequence of the genome is assigned a particular function. So here for sequencing, we are discussing several steps for sequencing. Can you tell me the steps one by one, any one of you? What is the first step in the sequencing? What is the first step in the sequencing? Isolation of DNA. Right, Geetika. Isolation of the DNA from a cell. What is the second step? Geetika, you can continue. What is the second step?
So breaking the DNA into random
fragments. The DNA into fragments. Third step.
These fragments are cloned in suitable hosts by using specialized vectors.
What are the suitable hosts?
So bacteria and yeast.
Bacteria and yeast. What are the suitable vectors?
BAC and YAC, sir.
BAC and YAC. Bacterial artificial chromosome, yeast artificial chromosome. And after cloning them, these fragments are sequenced in automated DNA machines. These automated DNA machines are built based on the principle given by Frederick Sanger. So you just place the fragment in the automated machine. The automated machine will directly read out the sequence. And finally, this Frederick Sanger is the scientist who is also credited for determining the amino acid sequence in a protein. And these sequences are arranged based on the overlapping regions. So the overlapping regions, I think I have told you what are overlapping regions. See, have you studied a concept called as pleiotropy? Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember what is pleiotropy?
Sir, a single gene controlling more phenotypes, sir.
Okay. Is there any concept involvement of two genes controlling multiple effects, causing multiple effects? I think my question is okay, little bit confusing, na? Okay, single gene is affecting multiple phenotypes. A single gene is affecting multiple phenotypes because that particular single gene is because there is an interconnection or interrelationship in the metabolic pathways. Because of the interrelationship in the metabolic pathways, it is showing multiple effects. Here, I just wanted to tell you something about the overlapping regions. Overlapping regions are the regions where, for example, a gene with certain number of nucleotides, 20 nucleotides, let's take. In that, last 3 nucleotides will be also the part of the another gene, that is called as overlapping. So, for example, here CCAC, this is a gene. This CCAC is also the part of this particular gene. Now, this TCTTT is also the part of this particular gene. So, like these are called as overlapping regions. So, based on the overlapping regions only, they arranged the sequences. Here, this is again a deep study because it involves so many, methods which will be discussed at your higher level. That is a separate study, right? Fingerprints is completely a separate study, but here at this surface level, I can only give you the idea. Depending upon the overlapping sequences in the genomic, in the genome, these are arranged. And when they are arranged in a contiguous manner, here they are arranged in a contiguous manner. You can look at the bottom. So I have just collected overlapping sequences. This we are not manually doing it. This will just place all the fragments in a particular machine, and by the help of the computer, these are arranged in a particular order based on the overlapping regions. Then these sequences are annotated. Annotated means these are assigned with a function. That means this sequence is performing a function. The other sequence is performing another function. Like these are assigned. This assigning functions to a sequence is called as annotation. Then these annotated sequences are again assigned to the chromosome. So this sequence is present in chromosome 1. This sequence is present on chromosome 2. This sequence is present on chromosome 3. The next technique which we are going to discuss, which is DNA fingerprinting. The base for the DNA fingerprinting is also the Human Genome Project. In the Human Genome Project, we have isolated and we have known maximum number of sequences in the human genome. We know very well. Like I will discuss again. These after sequencing and arranging them based on the overlapping regions, after annotating, finally the job is done. So annotation means assigning functions to each sequence and assigning that particular sequence to each chromosome. With this, the whole sequencing process is done. So to get some clarity on this process, I just wanted to write a flow chart regarding that. So can we start the flow chart? So flow chart, first sequence annotation. So can you tell me what is the first one in the flow chart?
Isolation of DNA. Sir.
Isolation of DNA. Number 2.
Breaking up of DNA. Sir.
Breaking up of DNA into fragments. Number 3.
Sequencing the fragments. Sir.
No. Akshaya. No. Third step, fragments are cloned. Fragments are cloned by using what are the vectors? BAC, YAC. In bacteria, host is yeast, bacteria and yeast. Then fourth step, sequencing the fragments by using automated DNA machines developed by, that means developed based on the principle given by Frederick Sanger. Then arrange the sequence in a order based on overlapping regions. Then annotation means assigning functions and assigning that sequence to chromosomes over. These are the 6 steps in sequence annotation. This is the flow chart of whatever we are discussing about the Human Genome Project. This is what is done to sequence the whole genome. So have you taken this flow chart? Let's move back. Shall I move on?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right, come back here. So sequence of chromosome 1 completed in May 2006. This was the data. Right, coming back, DNA fingerprinting. Oh, sorry, no, sorry. Right, absolutely sorry. We'll discuss about the challenges and applications of the Human Genome Project. Methodologies are done. Now we'll go to the challenges. Right. I think before going into the challenges, we have one more important concept, which is salient features. After doing this process, some of the features they reveal are given below. So first I'll write that this is a number data knowledge base. I'll write one by one. So taking into number one, first one. This is, I'll just write data 3164.7. This is 3164.7 million base pairs. I'll give you the explanation of this number. This is the number that is number of base pairs, million base pairs that are present in the human genome. Number two, only I'm writing the number. Later again you have to give me the number is related to which part of the human genome. That means it signifies what? 3000 bases. They found out an average gene usually have 3000 bases. This is average gene, right? Then they found out the largest gene is dystrophin with 2.4 million bases. This is third. Fourth, the total number of genes that they estimated at the end of the Human Genome Project is 30,000. This is the total number of genes that are estimated at the end of the Human Genome Project. But there is a previous estimate with them, which is around 80,000 to 1,40,000 genes. So the previous estimate was showing that they are going to identify 80,000 to 1,40,000, but the total number of genes estimated is only 30,000. Very low than the previous estimate. Okay, then 5 is 99.9% nucleotide bases are exactly same. So I'll come back again. You have to give me the significance of that number. 6. If you look at out of the discovered genes, 30,000 genes are discovered now. Estimated genes estimation is 30,000. See here, 50% of the genes functions are unknown. 50% of the discovered genes, their functions are unknown. Right? I am just writing the number data. You have to give me the significance. Once again, I'll come back. Be ready with that. Then next, 2% of the total genome is coding for proteins. It was found after the Human Genome Project that 2% of the human genome is coding for proteins. Then 8. It's 2% of the human genome. Then we have repeated sequences in the DNA that are repeated many times. How many times they are repeated? It is 100 to 1000 times. I'll write 100 also in number because this is completely a number data. So 100 to 1000 times. Just a minute. Then 9. Coming to this 100 to 1000 times. After this, we'll discuss about these repeated sequences. Once again, we'll come back. Actually, these repeated sequences do not code for any proteins, but they are, very important for the chromosomal structure, chromosome dynamics, and chromosome evolution. And finally, they found out the most number of genes are present on chromosome number 1. So that is 2968 genes. So these are most number of genes on chromosome number 1. 10th data which I am giving you is they also found out the fewest genes, 231, are present. 231 genes are present on chromosome number Y. Finally, there are 1.4 million locations where there is a single nucleotide difference in the human beings. So there are 1.4 million locations where there is single nucleotide difference. So I am writing the data only, number data only, 1.4 million locations where there is a difference in the single nucleotide. 1.4 million locations. This single nucleotide variation is there. So that means individuals differ in single base only. That is called as single base DNA difference. This is also called as SNP, single nucleotide polymorphism. They are also called as SNPs. These SNPs occur in humans. Right? Okay, this whole information, whatever which is given here, 3164.7 million base pairs, an average gene of 3000 bases. Dystrophin is the largest gene. This is the largest gene made up of 2.4 million bases, 30,000 estimated genes. Than the previous estimate, very low. The previous estimate is 80,000 to 1,40,000. 99.9% nucleotides are same. 50% gene functions are unknown. 2% of the genome, less than 2% of the genome coding for proteins. Repeated sequences are very large, making very large portions of the human genome. These are repeated so many times, 100 to 1000 times. They do not code for any proteins. They are very important in terms of structure, dynamics, and evolution. Chromosome 1, which has most number of genes, 2968, 231 genes are present on Y, very less number of genes, fewest number of genes. Then scientists also determined there are 1.4 million locations where there is a single base DNA difference is there, which is called as single nucleotide polymorphism. Right? Then this particular information, it is very much possible to find the locations on the chromosome for disease associated sequences. And also there are locations on the chromosome where you can also going to trace the human history. So this information is going to be quite important in identifying disease associated sequences and also helpful in tracing human history. So actually we need to be taking everything into consideration, whatever they have given in Human Genome Project. Each and every line has some significance. So we have to understand first thing is understand each and every line significance that is given in your package. Then you can work out on the other additional things. If you kick the ball not in the goal post, other than that you will not get a point. Okay, you will not get any goal point. You have to kick the ball right in the goal post. So first of all, make sure that each and every line of the package, the significance of those lines properly, and whatever the question comes from that, you can able to do it. So that only can be done by proper revising continuously, attending the class very regularly, clearing the doubts in the classroom. That only will help you. Why I am telling you? Because knowledge base is going to be very important in the biology part. So that too, this data which I have given in the number form, now we are going to write its significance one by one. Do you remember? Now I need help from you. You have to tell me the number significance which I have given here. Right? Are you ready? So everybody will be participating here. So let's start. Who wanted to go first? Who are interested? Raise your hands. I don't want to disturb everyone. Who are interested? Raise your hands, and I'll start with the first one. Okay, Geetika, start with 3164.7. What is this?
Sir, there are 3,164.7 million base pairs in human genome, sir.
So this is million base pairs in human genome. Okay, Akshaya, you start with the second. What is the second?
Sir, it is the number of bases possessed by an average gene, sir.
Okay, present in an average gene. Right? Ajitesh, go with the third number. What is this third number?
So the largest number of bases in a single gene.
So the what you have to say, largest number of gene, what is exactly? Can you please help me out? Largest gene, right?
Yes, sir. Largest
Gene. What is the
contains
largest gene?
base pairs.
Dystrophin. This is dystrophin, which is the largest gene, which is consisting of 2.4 million bases. Very good. Next, 1 second. After Ajitesh, Kavyadarshini.
Sir, fourth one is the total number of estimated genes, sir.
Very good. Estimated genes. It is lower than the previous estimate or higher than the previous estimate?
Lower than the previous estimate, sir.
Lower than, what is the previous estimate? $80,000. Am I right? 80,000 to 1,40,000 genes. Right? Good. Well done. Yasir, what is the next one? 99.9. Good. Nucleotide bases are exactly same. Very good. Are exactly same. Well done. Next, who raised hands? Only 6 people raised the hand. Okay, Sylvia, tell me.
Sir, 50% of the genes are unknown, sir.
50% of the discovered gene their functions are unknown, right? Am I right? Their functions are unknown, or what is that?
Functions, sir.
Functions are unknown. 2%, anybody is there? Only 6 students raised their hand. The remaining are there in the class. It looks very disappointing here. Your class, nobody is attending. I will comment one day. I will come back to you. I'm not getting time. I am busy with the other things. Okay, Abhirami, no response. Are you there in the class or not?
Yes, sir. I'm there, sir.
Abhirami SK. I'm talking about Abhirami SK. Okay, Abhirami M. Can you tell me what is 2%? Amrita? Okay, Vanshika, tell me what is 2%?
Sir, the genome code for proteins is less than 2%.
Okay, the genome which is coding for proteins is less than 2%. So less than 2% of the genome codes for proteins. Hundred to 1,000 times Who is taking care of this 100 to 1000 times? Anybody in the class who is proactive? Like only 7 students have responded because 7 points we are done. Anybody apart from the 7? 100 to 1000 times. So here 100 to 1000 times repeated sequences can be found. If you look at these repeated sequences, we will discuss about the repeated sequences once again in the DNA fingerprinting. But these repeated sequences, they make up large portions of the human genome. Actually, these repeated sequences, which are repeated 100 to 1000 times, they do not code for proteins. When they do not code, let's also have to find out, is there any significance? Yes, they show significance. They are important, or they shed light on chromosome structure, chromosome dynamics, chromosome evolution. That is chromosome function. Dynamics means and evolution. Now, anybody can take 2968. Anybody?
Sir,
Huh.
sixth one, it is unknown.
What? Unknown, na? Sorry. Yeah. 2968. What is
So
29?
chromosome 1 has the most genes.
Chromosome 1 has most genes, Nandini. Chromosome 1 has most genes. How many?
2968, sir.
Then 231. Very good. Chromosome Y. Where is Ajitesh? Is over. Where is Jayanirudh? Jayanirudh is there in the class. Then 1.4 million locations. What is this 1.4 million locations? Anybody? Sadhana.
Sir, it's
Single
Nucleotide
polymorphism, which we also generally call single nucleotide difference, which is called as SNP, which are also called as SNPs, which is called as single nucleotide polymorphism. So these are the salient features of the Human Genome Project. So by doing the sequence annotation and getting this kind of information, and as I told you, this kind of information is very important in identifying the locations on the chromosome for disease associated sequences and also tracing human history. With this, we will move to the application and challenges part. Okay, if you are done with this, I will go to the application and challenges part. Very good participation. Right, we'll go to the application and challenges, then we'll move to the DNA fingerprinting methodology. That is the final topic.
Sir,
Huh.
sir, how will we identify that this is a single gene? How are we identifying that these many base pairs are present in a single gene?
Okay, we gene usually which codes for a polypeptide chain, we consider it as a gene. If that bigger gene is coding for a polypeptide chain, na Geetika, so it is a single gene that is coding for only single polypeptide chain, a large polypeptide chain. You know, Geetika, you have studied this transcription in eukaryotes. Large gene is present. So how many? The largest gene has how many nucleotide bases? We have quoted here. What is the number? 1 second.
2.4 million bases.
2.4 million bases. All will be copied onto hnRNA. In the 2.4 million bases, it is studded with introns, exons. Yes, everything combined 2.4 million bases. Then because of the processing, 50% to 85% of the genome, that means sequences are removed. You have studied it in transcription. Then you will have a small mRNA. That small mRNA will code for a polypeptide chain. Usually, a polypeptide chain consists of many number of amino acids. Many number of amino. It's not only 20. It may be 90, 100, 200, 300, 400. So, like a gene which is coding for a polypeptide chain is nothing but, or a sequence which is coding for a polypeptide chain is nothing but or less gene. So this gene definition is also given by 2-3 scientists. There is a hypothesis, one gene, one enzyme hypothesis. There is a hypothesis, one gene, one polypeptide chain hypothesis. Like that, we have 2-3 hypotheses are there. Weedle and Tatum, several other scientists have proposed it. That will discuss with the extra information channel. But here, what I just wanted to tell you here, we define gene as the sequence producing a polypeptide chain. You also have studied beta polypeptide chain is produced by this gene. Alpha polypeptide chain is produced by this gene. Usually, here what we are doing, a gene which are a sequence producing polypeptide chain is considered as a gene. Got it, Geetika?
Yes, sir.
Application and challenges. See, when you read this part of the chapter needs so many other areas, thorough with the other areas. This is related with the other areas of the science, such as it related to biochemistry. It is related to cytology. It is related to other areas. But here, this is a brief idea which is given to you. So here, what I am trying here, I'm just trying to help you to have a more idea of each and every line which is given in the package and as well as in your NCERT, so that you have a good idea on this, right? Yeah, we go for. See here, if we go out of the package or go out of the NCERT, we design package in such a way, what we teach, it should be there in the package. Already I told you initially, and you also have to understand, because you are into 12th class now. Whatever is there in the book, first of all, we need to understand little deeply. We need to implicate through the line, and we have to see the several implications of that particular line and connections with the other chapters also. That much necessity is there right now, because the competition is very hectic. If you look at the present 12th class studying students, they are scoring 720. Many number of students in a batch, there are 10 to 11 students are there who are almost all regularly scoring above 700. 2 to 3 students are there regularly scoring 720. You have to understand. That means, the NCERT is nothing but the Bible, Bhagavad Gita and everything. This is their NCERT lines and the package lines which are given extra information. You need to stick on to that, understand it in the class, try to mug up right in the class. That's why I'm making this kind of what we call statements almost all similar to the package, so that you will be well versed right in the class, and when you go on and take the notes or go on and take the package, it becomes very easy for you. But that is the reason I'm not missing any point from any of your study material. Right? Next, future challenges and applications. When you understand this, you will understand this, but lately you will understand. When you understand it lately, the time has gone. Okay, you will be wasting most of the time. So that's why many of the students are missing the class. They are missing the practice actually. And they are also missing the implications of the lines, which I am explaining here. Applications and future challenges. So taking this applications and future challenges, we'll start with the first application. Let me give you some idea. I'm writing now in what we call it as application. Actually, when the Human Genome Project first phase is completed, actually first phase means whatever this 13-year project that is completed, still the Human Genome Project is live. Recently also, 3 days or 4 days back, we got a news that there are some more genes which are identified. Right here, this completion of the first phase, they have a target of 13 years, and by the completion of the first phase, actually this is compared to discovery of antibiotics. And here also you need to understand why the first phase of completion of first phase of HGP is compared to the discovery of antibiotics. One thing, discovery of antibiotics is a great turning point in the biology. Because you see, I'm not a doctor, but I'm a botany teacher, but I have a range of knowledge with me right now. So let me explain you in my understanding, which is in real. Okay, discovery of antibiotics, to me, like antibiotics are lifesavers. You know that very well. It kills pathogenic organisms. So when there is no antibiotics, if you imagine the world, maybe not many number of human individuals are succumbed or susceptible to the deadly diseases caused by various pathogenic bacteria. Now, after the discovery of antibiotics, the life has changed. The life has completely changed. It has shown a great benefit to the human welfare. In one way, in one direction only, I'm telling you, taking antibiotics may gradually decrease the immunity. I'm not talking about the harmful effects, side effects, but I'm talking about initially the major beneficial effect of the antibiotics. So the same beneficial effects which are shown by the antibiotics is applied to the completion of first phase of HGP. That means the first phase of HGP, whatever the database that came out, whatever the information that came out is really that much important, similar to discovery of antibiotics. So this is the first application. This is nothing but a significant feature also we can say. Let me write that. Completion of first phase of HGP is compared to the discovery of antibiotics. And here huge database is produced because of HGP. See, really, still we have not completely understood science. I don't know how many of you are in schools completely approaching in a practical manner. But I don't know how much you have understood science. You are studying science since the 6th class, 7th class, 8th class, 9th class, 10th class, and 11th class, 12th class. You are in right now 12th class. I don't know how many people know about photosynthetic experiments. How many people know about how do you, for example, why we use mango leaves when we celebrate festivals. Everybody know that it releases oxygen. How come the ancestral people know that it releases more amount of the oxygen than the others? Then there was no scientific equipments at that particular time. The science is not that much developed. But if you look at here, to measure the rate of oxygen that is released from the leaf, we have different setup and different scientific tools to identify the amount of oxygen that is released. So the science is different. The science which we study, at the same time it has to be applicable, and you should have, even if you are not applying it, you should have a sensitive what we call it as attitude towards understanding the scientific base of that particular concept. Here also, the data which is produced, you might not be knowing the importance of the data is nothing but the sequence now. At this level, what we understand, okay, this is sequence. So with this sequence, what we are going to do, so many. That sequence, you are knowing the functions of that sequence. By knowing the functions of that sequence, you can manipulate the sequence. You can correct the sequence. For example, the same sequence which is causing a disease, genetic disease, and because of some mutation, that mutations can be corrected by knowing the sequence, like so many implications. This data, the huge data, HGP produced huge database. This huge database that is produced is used in several sectors. It is used in environment, it is used in animal biotechnology, it is used in farming, it is used in several other places, right? So this is what it is, first point, application. I just went out thoroughly and helped you to understand the line they have given. Second thing, here applications and future challenges. The challenge they have written here, second one, is mapping all the genes, all sequences, mapping I'm talking about. Not sequencing we have done, but mapping. Mapping means these genes are on this chromosome, that is okay. But on this chromosome, where is these genes are located? What is the sequence of the genes? That is called as mapping. So you need to focus on the terms and lines very specifically. Sequencing is different, annotation is different, mapping is different, three different terms. Sequence means you know the sequence. Annotation means you know the functions of the sequence. Mapping, you know in what order, in which linear order the genes are present on the chromosome. So that is what mapping. Now here, mapping of all genes, all sequences, mapping of transposons, mapping of junk DNA is a future challenge. Mapping of all genes. Okay, mapping of junk DNA. What is junk DNA? You might be have a doubt, sir. What is junk DNA? You can ask this question. So anyway, I will give you the junk. So junk food. Why you say junk food? Because it is not giving you any proper benefit to the body. We call it as junk. Right now, your junk DNA is not having any coding significance. It doesn't code actually. That is called as junk DNA. Usually have these repeated sequences, non-coding sequences. This is junk DNA. So transposons. So we are mapping where is this junk DNA sequences are present, where on which chromosome they are present, like what are repeated sequences. Transposons are usually called as jumping genes, transposable elements. These are called as transpose. Transpose means translocate in the human genome. How they jump? Really, I have to find out. But these jumping genes are called as transposons. Right? So this is the future challenge they have at that time, whatever the challenges. Okay, this is second. I think I have given proper explanation for the second. Okay, if you have any doubt regarding that, you can ask. Third, I'll go to the third one. Here, as I was telling you, by taking the information of the sequences, what is the benefit to the human beings? That is what we have to understand. That means benefit means what is the application of this knowledge? Where do you apply this knowledge? Actually, during this project, more than 1200 genes are identified during this HGP, where these genes are related to common cardiovascular disorders. More than 1200 genes are identified, which are causing common cardiovascular disorders. And as well, genes are identified which are causing endocrine disorders such as diabetes. Alzheimer's is a neurological disorder too. At the same time, Alzheimer's is dementia. Dementia is due to, abnormal levels of some of the hormones that also cause dementia. Okay, these kind of disorder related genes, the genes which are causing these kind of disorders. Cancers, the genes which are causing cancers have been corrected. That means have been corrected means they can be corrected by taking their actual sequences into consideration, or by taking their snapshots, means by taking their pics. So there is a P53 gene, which is a cancer causing gene. If we know the sequence of it, why it is mutated, how it is mutated, if we study completely about the gene, we can able to correct the cancer. Neurological disorder causing genes, if we take the genes, you can correct that particular gene, then that disorders can be corrected. All these disorders which I am quoting, they can be corrected if you know exactly the sequence of those genes. So this is one of the important application of the HGP. Like I will start with the number more than 1200 genes. Are identified which are causing this cardiovascular disorders, common cardiovascular disorders. And endocrine disorders. such as diabetes, Alzheimer's, cancers, some neurological. Alzheimer's are also come under neurological disorder. And just all these disorders, which are genetic usually, can be corrected by knowing them, by identifying the sequence. This is one of the very important application. See, coming back, 3 applications I am done with respect to the HGP. Right, now let's come to the 4th application. The 4th application. See, in the case of the 4th, see, you have studied a disorder called as sickle cell anemia. How many of you remember? Sickle cell anemia is what kind of disorder? Chromosomal or Mendelian?
Mendelian, sir.
Mendelian disorder. You understand this? Means Mendelian disorders are also called as genetic disorders because the mutation in the gene cause this disorder, and these genes can be inherited from parents to the offsprings. And single gene defect, single nucleotide base defect is there. Sickle cell anemia, point mutation, best example. That also can be corrected. For example, if we, once again, the mutated gene of beta globin chain, that means gene producing beta globin chain, if you correct that particular base, the hereditary disease can be corrected. So this is one of the advantage of knowing the sequence. So single gene defects or single gene hereditary defects can be corrected. And here, see, one more point you have to again think about it. Okay, then if we correct the gene, is that okay? Then where we correct the gene? In the skin cell? Or actually wherever the problem arises there, or where we have to correct the gene? This is what is very important. New cells are produced in our body at a place, I think it is a bone marrow. Right, I think if you inject, these corrections in the bone marrow cells before its differentiation, so when they become differentiated, that means they will be joining different tissues and different parts of the body. They will be circulated, they will be moved to different parts of the body. Then you will get to see this corrected gene in many of the places of the body. This is just general idea I'm giving you. So where you have to correct it? Where you have to correct on the skin, or where you have to correct on the brain cell, or correct on the heart cell. All are diploid, all are having the same part, or where is the disease affected? So for this, to understand this, you need several other branch science information. Otherwise, we cannot actually understand exact application. But here on a surface account, you can understand it. If you correct that particular DNA sequence, you can correct that particular disorder. Okay, you can make it normal again. So the cells before differentiation, that means when you correct the gene before differentiation, that will be more useful. So bone marrow cells produces new cells, I think. I think you know zoology more than me. So where it should be corrected is going to be more important. So the single gene defects can be corrected, which is a very costly affair. There are certain situations are there, or certain places are there where even nowadays also people store what we call it as undifferentiated mass of cells after their birth, immediate birth. So that can be used to cure diseases when they become diseased in the duration of their life. Right. The point is, I'm just highlighting that if you want application, you need to understand the different branches. You need to be very good in zoology. You need to be very good in understanding biochemistry part. Then you will have a good understanding of the application. This is not going much deeply here, but let me give you some idea. Fifth one here, by knowing the sequence of all the genes, and by knowing which gene is producing which kind of protein, We can also have a study on interaction of the genes. We can also have a study on interaction of the proteins. We can also, have a study on the formation of organs and tissues. During the regulation of expression of genes, I have quoted a statement that development of the embryo to an adult organism is the coordinated regulation of expression of several sets of genes. So this human genome project really helps for the science students to study interaction between the genes. So I will write here helps in study of interaction between the genes and interaction between proteins that they produce, and also helps in study the formation of organs and formation of tissues and as well as tumors. This is what it is. So this is the fifth application. This is one important application. Then see, this is the most creative one, innovative one. So by the help of the knowledge base that we have got from the HGP, one can design a designer drug to a particular individual. It is the designer drugs are according to the need of the individual human being. So we can create designer drugs. Designer drugs can be created I'm saying about designer drugs which can be created according to the need of individual human beings. This is individual human beings I'm talking about. For what purpose? For healthy life, for longer life. Sorry. I'm done. So these are the 6 applications and challenges that are for Human Genome Project. If you are done, let me know. Clear? So then we'll move to the DNA fingerprinting technology.
Sir, what are designer drugs?
What are?
Designer drugs.
Designer drugs means these drugs are designed for a particular individual only, depending upon his sequence. Because we differ in 0.1% nucleotide based sequences. 99.9% is same. That is going to be, causing variations in the human being, right? That is the variation. That is the difference. Right? Depending, see, for example, like if you just look at corona thing only, so the drugs have been, whatever the drugs that are used during, I am not the, what we call it as exact person to talk about the drug and its action, but I'm just giving a general idea that some of the drugs are not suitable for some individuals, some of the drugs are suitable for some individuals, and this designer drugs are made based on the individual, a particular individual, and this can be done only by knowing the complete sequence of that particular human. So if it is possible to sequence that particular human genome completely, knowing the sequences and functions and everything else, it is easy to design a drug for that particular individual for healthy and longer living. That is only designer means it is designed to a specific individual. That's why we call it as designer drug. There is nothing technicality in that. Designer drug is helping you to understand that this drug is designed for a particular individual. This drug works only for this individual because it is made based on the information of the human genome sequence of that individual. Got the idea? Get it?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Ah.
sir, why can these changes be made only before differentiation?
Okay, you have to understand this. See, before differentiation means what happens? The cell will divide now and new cells will be formed. After differentiation, the cell further will not divide, Ajitesh. This is a concept. Good question. The point is after differentiation, if you change, only that cell will be changed. That will not give rise to new cells. Okay, I will come onto the board, don't worry. I'll just give you some light on that. I want you to think in that manner. That's a good question actually. Why before differentiation? I suggested that if you want to correct a gene, you correct it before differentiation. For example, before differentiation, the cell has the ability to divide. Differentiation means the division is stopped. The division is over. Before differentiation, this cell will divide and produces 2 cells. They divide and produces 4. They divide and produces 8. They divide and produces 16. Then when out of 16, some cell will stop and they differentiate. When they differentiate, they may become a part of the skin cell, they may become a part of the hand muscle cell, they may become a part of the brain cell, they may become a part of the heart cell, they may become a part of the intestine cell. Then if you take out intestinal cell and correct that, only this cell will be corrected now. But if you take up this particular cell which is dividing and correct it, the correction will be transferred to the next coming cells. 2 cells will be corrected. You got these 2 cells which are corrected, where the gene defect is corrected. You got 4 cells which are corrected. You got 8 cells which are corrected. You got 16 which got corrected. You will get 32 which got corrected. And they become differentiate, so they will perform normal functions because the gene you have corrected, you have inserted the correction right in the cell which is still in dividing stage. Got Ajit?
We can do this only in the zygote.
What Ajit?
Then we can do this correction only in the zygote or the next generation.
That's quite here. So, do we have any place where new cells are formed in the body? See, when old cells die, new cells are ultimately formed. Yes? Where these new cells are formed, that means division is happening. At that particular place, if you cause the correction, so then the new cells which are formed are corrected cells. What the idea? So this is extension. I have given you an idea that extension. I just wanted you to think in that direction, that where actually we can apply. This is a what we call glimpse of application. There are broader terms of application. Still, we don't know. This is a general idea which is given at this level, because you need to have a more knowledge on other branches of science too to understand. As you go higher and higher, you become narrower completely. You will be, because we cannot take on large volumes of knowledge at the same time. But anyway, this will give you a good idea that HGP has these many implications and these many applications and the boards, right? This is done now. DNA fingerprinting. Can I move on to that particular topic? So we have 3 minutes more. We can finish this chapter today. Let's see. Now the DNA fingerprinting methodology which is given. First, I just wanted to discuss. So do you have any previous knowledge related to the DNA fingerprinting? Can anybody tell me what is meant by DNA fingerprinting? Okay, no problem. Let's. Before jumping into that particular topic, let's have some information related to it. Once again, the information of DNA. So if you isolate DNA from two individuals, then these two individuals are having same sequence. How much percentage? 99.9%. Do you agree with that? So this 99.9% of base sequence among the two individuals who we have selected is same. Okay, just follow my points which I am writing on the board. That is the one we have studied in Human Genome Project. So we know very well that the human genome has 3 into 10 to the power of 9 base pairs. Do you agree? Human genome has how many base pairs? 3 into 10 to the power of 9 base pairs. The question comes, then if it is 3 into 10 to the power of 9 base pairs, like how many base are nucleotide sequences? There is a difference. That is what the question. Now, where is the difference? How many bases are going to be different? See, whatever the difference between the two individuals, that is, I can say, the 0.1 difference is there. This is the difference now. I say the 0.1 difference between individuals or in the humans clearly indicate that each and every individual is unique in their phenotypic appearance because of this 0.1 difference. Because of this 0.1 difference, each and every individual, you take each and every individual, they are not exactly the identical copies of their parents too. Even I am talking about their parents or even offsprings. Each and every individual is unique in terms of this 0.1. I'm talking about the 0.1%. Maybe you take unique means you take their appearance, morphological appearance, outer appearance, which is phenotypic appearance. Then you have to find out where is the difference. Then that is the job. So this DNA fingerprinting will help you to find out where is the difference. Okay, then you take out the sequence of the individual A, take out the sequence of the individual B. Okay, then if you start finding out the difference by using the steps given in the Human Genome Project, it is going to be a hectic job, very costly affair. Yes or no? You have to compare now 3 into 10 to the power of 9 or 3 into 10 to the power of 16, 3 into 10 to the power of 6 or 3 into 10 to the power of 9, 3 into 10 to the power of 9. 6 or 9? Hello.
9, sir.
9. 3 into 10 to the power of 9 base pairs we have to compare means it's a hectic job. Very hectic job. Then this DNA fingerprinting will cut down that process and helps you to compare the unique DNA sequences of each and every individual. I am talking about unique DNA sequences. This uniqueness only you have to compare. Uniqueness of A individual, uniqueness of B individual only you have to compare. Then what are these unique? So these unique sequences which I have written here, these are nothing but repeated sequences. So before going into the technique, you need to know which sequences you are comparing. Which sequences are unique? Is you are taking out this 0.1 difference between each and every individual? What you are taking out? Actually, the uniqueness of each and every individual is lying in these repeated sequences. What are repeated sequences? We have studied in Human Genome Project. Repeated sequences are going to make large portions of the human genome. This is a very important point. I'm repeating again and again. In your DNA also the sequences are repeated. And to know something or to remember something, to by heart something also we have to repeat the same thing again and again. So what are these repeated sequences? These repeated sequences containing DNA is called as repetitive DNA. What is this repetitive DNA? Repetitive DNA, repeated sequences, is nothing but called as repetitive DNA. This repetitive DNA is nothing but repeated many times. How many times repeated? Here also, I am not going out of anything. I am just limiting myself to make you to understand very clearly. Repeated many times means I can say repeated 10 times, repeated 20 times, repeated 30 times, repeated 100 times, repeated 200 times also. Right. So I can write repeated many times. So let me give you some idea on this. This is a DNA sequence. Okay. So I'm writing a DNA sequence. ATTGC TTATT. This is a basic repeat. Okay, I'm repeating it again. ATTGC TTATT. This is repeated again. This is called as a basic repeat. It is repeated again. Now I'll continue. ATTGC TTATT. Repeated again. ATTGC TTATT. Repeated again. ATTGC TTATT. Repeated again. So these are repeated sequences. Now the one which is repeating again and again and again is called as basic repeat. This is repeating again, again, again. Now where is this sequencer? You may ask. Yes, I'm coming to the point. This is the chromosome number 11. This is the area where the sequence is repeated. So this is the area where the sequence is. Sir, how many times it is repeated? See, this is chromosome number 11. In me, this is repeated 20 times. In Ajitesh, it is repeated 40 times. In Geetika, it is repeated 30 times. In Akshaya, it is repeated 2 times only. Or let's take 6 times. In Sadhana, it is repeated 25 times. So we differ now. So this repeat in 11th chromosome number 11. I have 20 repeats. You also have the same sequence. If I have ATT, GC, TT, ATT, the same sequence is with you. ATT, GC, TT, ATT. Now the point you have to understand, I am not trying to take out 0.1 difference. I am just trying to take out the number of repeated sequences. The 0.1 difference is there. Because of that, each and every individual is unique. But if I try to find out this 0.1% difference, I have to place all the DNA sequence of one individual and other individual, and I have to compare 3 into 10 to the power of 9 base pairs. It's going to be very hectic. That there is a shortcut method which is called as DNA fingerprinting, where the DNA fingerprinting first make use of these repeated sequences to identify the difference between 2 individuals. Not 0.1 difference. Sir, why this repeated sequences? Because the sequence is same. ATT, GC, TT, ATT is same sequence present in Narendra Singh Modi, Prime Minister, Chief Minister, WHO organization leader, even the American President. Go to any part of the biosphere, take out any individual. The sequence is same, but the number of times it is repeated is different. In me, sometimes we all same. For example, myself and Ajitesh will be on 11th chromosome. These repeated sequences are both 20. And what about the other chromosome? There are 23 pairs of chromosome. In that, for example, let's take 7th chromosome. In that there is a repeated, there is one more basic repeat. ATT, AT, ATT, GC. Now ATT, AT, ATT, GC. ATT, AT, ATT, GC. And you have to observe why I am using AT more. GC content is more in the prokaryotes and AT content is more in the eukaryotes. There are a lot of basic foundational things are there where I am explaining here to you. You need to focus on each and every aspect of what I am trying to give you. So here I am reflecting the importance of the sequence, AT sequence and GC sequence when I am writing the basic repeat. And that too, how can I isolate this repeated sequence? So first what I will do, I will isolate a DNA from any cell, somatic cell, I will isolate the DNA. And I already told you it's better to isolate the DNA from the sperm cells. Most of the times, if you go to the forensic, you have watched so many movies now, forensic, the police investigation, crime movies, forensic movies, they will take the DNA and they will check it out. But anyway, this is different part. So here what is sperm of that particular criminal is there in the crime scene, that becomes very easy to get identified. Because other, I will tell you later. I told you already, to isolate the DNA from the sperm cell is going to be very easy rather than from the other cells. Now when you take this is very important, which I am telling you, don't take it as a comedy thing. This is very important. This ATT, I have written a ATT, AT, GC. This sequence, this basic repeat sequence is different. And this basic repeat sequence is different. And this basic repeat sequence is different. Right? Means this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. This particular sequence is different and this is present on chromosome number 7 at this place. And it is repeated 3 times in me. And if you take Ajitesh or Jay Anirudh or anybody, Sarvesh, it will be different. It may be 4 or it may be 5. We people may be similar in basic repeat in 11th chromosome, but I'm talking about this particular sequence. This is 3 in number on my 7th chromosome. It may be 7 in number on Ajitesh. It may be 20 in number on Jay Anirudh. Are this chromosome also same? Okay, 11th chromosome is same, 7th chromosome is also same. Both are same. Right? Then another chromosome. Each and every chromosome will have this repeated sequences. Why, sir? Because the HGP has given this information. Larger portions of this genome are repeated sequence only. And this is really a wonderful idea that scientists have identified. The number of repeats a basic repeat will be different from individual to individual, and that is unique to individual. That is very unique to individual. If you are showing same number of repeats in 5 chromosomes in other places, you might not show the same repeat. It is for sure, it is definite. So that's why the basic DNA sequence that is used for a DNA fingerprint is repeated sequences. I will take some time to elevate this to make you to understand what is the DNA sequence that we use in DNA fingerprinting. Is a repeated sequence that we take. Then, as I shown you here, this sequence is repeated here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times. Okay, this is called as tandem repeat. So there is some terminologies that are used. There are interspersed repeats are there. They will not repeat tandemly. I think you have to understand this. Are you following me or not? Class is silent. Are you following or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
ATT, GC, this is one. This repeat is will give some gap, and again ATT, GC. Again ATT, GC. So look at, there is a gap between the repeat. This is the basic repeat which is repeated, but there is a gap. These are interspersed repeats. The repetitive DNA is of 2 types: tandem repeat, interspersed repeat. So I am not going into the dimensions of the basic repeat, how many number will be there in each basic repeat. That will be confusing for you. Right now, that is not required. Right now, you need to understand the basic ideology of DNA fingerprinting. What is that? What is unique is number of repetitive DNA sequences in each individual is unique. Then what is, sir? What is DNA fingerprint? DNA fingerprint is the number of repeated sequences that are present in individual is the DNA fingerprint. That is what the DNA fingerprint. What will be the DNA fingerprint? Na? See, look at, I will just give you some idea. Before going into the process, you just have this ideology. This is A individual, this is B individual, chromosome 1, chromosome 2, chromosome 3, chromosome 4, chromosome 5, chromosome 6, chromosome 7, and randomly giving the numbers. There is no specificity for this, there is no authentication for this, but to make you to understand, this is B individual, this is crime scene individual, so that is crime DNA, is the one who is the culprit DNA. This is, we got it. It may be sperm, it may be hair, it may be whatever, the maybe skin cell, whatever. But the chromosome number 1, chromosome number 2, chromosome number 3, chromosome number 5, chromosome number 6, chromosome number 7. This crime scene, on the first chromosome, he got 6 repeats. He got 10 repeats. He got 20 repeats. He got 40 repeats. He got 10 repeats. He got 10 repeats. He got 10 repeats. Right? Then A. He got 6 repeats. He got 10. He got exactly 20. He got exactly 40. He got exactly 10. He got exactly 10. He got exactly 10. Then B. He got 7 repeats. He got 10. Got 20. He got 40. He got 9. He got 8. He is 11. So who is the culprit in A and B?
Yes, sir.
A. This is what the DNA fingerprint. This we call it as DNA fingerprint, and this DNA fingerprint is completely matching with the DNA fingerprint of A. So A is the one who is the criminal. So this is mostly used in the forensic and solve some social issues, parental disputes. Okay, now you have any doubt?
Sir, monozygotic twins have the same number of.
That point. That is what monozygotic also will discuss. Before that, let me give you some idea. First of all, basic understanding. Right? What is this idea? Okay. Now, what is the base sequences for DNA fingerprinting? So DNA fingerprinting, I will start writing now some of the important points of the DNA fingerprinting. That DNA fingerprinting is identifying differences in repetitive DNA sequences. Shall I write that point? The DNA fingerprinting involves identifying sequences or identifying differences in repetitive DNA. The next question will come, how do you isolate the repetitive DNA? You got a long length of DNA, 2.2 meter length, and how do you isolate this repetitive DNA? That's the question now. How do you isolate this repetitive DNA? What is the way to isolate this repetitive DNA? So DNA fingerprinting is the methodology which involves identifying differences in repetitive DNA. Then how will you isolate this repetitive DNA? Right? This we isolate by CSCL density gradient centrifugation. So we isolate the repetitive DNA sequences by density gradient centrifugation. So when you isolate the whole DNA is subjected to density gradient centrifugation. So when you do this density gradient centrifugation, the result is you will get narrow band, you will get broad band. You will get narrow band and you will get broad band. That means you will get GC rich sequences in broad band and the narrow band AT rich sequences. Got the idea? This is the way we isolate the repetitive DNA. And I am writing here. No need to worry too much about that. This is the broad band. This is narrow band. So these are narrow peaks or small peak. You can also say it has a small peak or narrow band, right? After doing density gradient centrifugation, this is a broad band or large peaks, or bulk peaks also you can say. This is also bulk DNA. This is a major peak. And this is a smaller peak. This narrow band is AT rich. So usually what happens, which I have written now, I will just write it in this way. The broader bands will be settled at the bottom now, and the narrow bands will be at the surface. So this is a narrow band, which is a smaller peak. Okay, this is a broad band. This is a larger peak. Okay. So this small peak or narrow band, this is small peak. Okay. Is nothing but called as satellite DNA, which is referred as satellite DNA. So DNA fingerprinting involves identifying differences in repetitive DNA. To isolate this repetitive DNA means a small stretch of DNA sequence repeated many times. These repetitive DNAs are separated by density gradient centrifugation. By the help of density gradient centrifugation, two peaks are formed, larger peaks and small peaks. Small peaks are referred as satellite DNA. They are AT rich. Then when I say they are AT rich, that's the reason I have given the sequences ATT, ATT, GC. More AT content only I have filled there. Okay, now let's take down this satellite DNA into consideration. Okay, now I will divide the satellite DNA into two fundamental categories. So actually many categories, this satellite DNA is categorized into many categories, but I'll give you two fundamental categories which are important. So this satellite DNA is categorized into two categories. I'll just take 2 minutes of time. Please show some patience because this is a very important concept which we are going to discuss here. One is microsatellite and other is mini satellite. One is microsatellite and other is mini satellite. Point to be noted. One is microsatellite and other is mini satellite. Then how do we divide the satellite DNA into microsatellite and mini satellite? Is based on some criteria. What are the criteria? First, depending upon AT rich or GC rich. This is first criteria. Okay. Second criteria, based on length of that particular segment. This is second criteria, length of segment. Third criteria is based on number of repetitive units. So based on this criteria, we divide the satellite DNA into two categories, microsatellites and mini satellites. One, based on AT rich and GC rich base composition. Two, length of the segment. Three, number of repetitive units. These three are the criteria to divide the satellite DNA into two categories, micro and mini. And I already told you, repetitive sequences do not code for any proteins. Not at all. They are not going to code for any kind of proteins. And also I told you they form the larger portions of the human genome. Taking this point into consideration, after doing the density gradient centrifugation, when we get a broad, narrow band at a small peak, the small peak refers to the repetitive DNA. We isolate this narrow band, and that we use for DNA fingerprinting technique. Actually, we did not enter into the main technique. We have not started. Still, we are isolating the base sequences for DNA fingerprinting. To understand this, this is the base of DNA fingerprinting. You have to isolate the DNA sequences, right? And that too repetitive sequences. These repetitive sequences are obtained in the form of a small peak. These are called as satellite DNA. Satellite DNAs are of two types, microsatellites and mini satellites. These satellite DNA form large portions of the human genome. And there is one more important point, that is a concept again that takes 15 minutes more. We will discuss in the next coming class. Anyway, the next coming class is going to be the end of the chapter, molecular basis of inheritance. Then we'll start after this, strategies of enhancement in reproduction. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. So please write. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.